Let's bring in Michael Woolfolk, who, like me, read a bit of David Copperfield as Michael McKee was talking about there earlier. What a historic time. Just remarkable. As you talk across the Bank of New York Mellon landscape, what's your major message on linking in all of this economics with people's markets worries?
Well, I think that you have to focus on fundamentals, that don't get carried away with the day-to-day headline news.
Right.
It's certainly important, but when it comes to equities, when it comes to fixed income, and most importantly, currencies, which can give you misdirections on a fairly consistent basis.
Is the euro giving us a misdirection now, stronger euro?
I think it's very much so giving us a misdirection here.
Do you have a target for euro?
Well, we do. We think that we have 140 by the end of the third quarter. And we think that by the end of the year, we're down at 138, and we could head lower.
Crawling down.
Right.
This chart is killer. Talk about distortions in the market. Ian Stannard, Morgan Stanley, thank you for this brilliance. Japan reserves back 10 years, the yellow line. Nice gradual buildup, trade juggernaut, et cetera, et cetera. Look at talk about a hockey stick. Look at the medical chart. That is Swiss National Bank reserves, and they are between the rock and the what. That to me, Michael, shows the dysfunction of the system. Do you agree with that?
Well, certainly it's one of the dysfunctions. We have global imbalances that have still not fully corrected. You have a Swiss National Bank now that is concerned about deflationary pressures, but is unwilling to act against them, as they did several years ago, to intervene in the market to keep their currency from strengthening further. So I think that really amongst the safe haven currencies, so the Swiss franc has some room to appreciate here amidst
Even
this
more
crisis.
so.
Even
a lower
more so.
number,
Absolutely.
as I quote Euro Swissy. What about yen at 80.11? Is that a safe haven currency?
Well, it is, Tom. But the problem, well, it is because...
Let's go right down to basics, Michael. This is important, folks. How can Japan be a safe haven currency?
Since 1990, the yen has been the strongest G7 currency in the world, despite having the weakest economic growth on average. So it is not necessarily consistent with growth differentials. One of the factors is that they've had a trade surplus, they've had deflationary conditions. Inflation on the other side, on the U.S. side, is corrosive to the value of the U.S. dollar versus yen. So 80 now would not be the same as 80 10, 15, 20 years ago.
Do you worry about deflation and disinflation in the United States? James Shug was just on Westpac, has aggressively come out suggesting QE3. Do you agree with that?
I disagree with QE3. I think that the Fed is going to end QE2 on time at the end of this month, that because of the inflationary pressures, that they will not be engaging in QE3, where it may have been a different issue 6 months ago. But we have core inflationary pressures. We see that in core CPI, core PPI. And right now, I think that there's too much of a risk with oil prices hovering around $100 a barrel, too much of a risk of further spillover.
Where would you need to see oil to calm down to, as Fadel Geit told us yesterday? Do you need to see it through 90, NYMEX through 90 and into 85?
And bare minimum, Tom, a bare minimum.
Look at this chart, core CPI, this is great. Beware unexpected disinflation and deflation. That's the Westpac view. Michael Woolfolk pushes against that. There is that hockey stick of core up to a 1.415. What's your call there? Morgan Stanley, Ian Stannard's Morgan Stanley suggests we're going to see an elevated core inflation. This is the key debate right now, isn't it?
It is the key debate. It may be the most important debate of the year, at least with respect to the U.S. dollar. There's a non-trivial chance, non-trivial probability, Tom, this year that we end 2011 with core CPI above 2%. Now, if that happens, that changes the dynamic. Then the Fed has to stop worrying about unemployment being above 8%, and they have to be defensive.
Within all the writing, should President Trichet have a restrictive European policy? Just for lack of better words, should we have a Europe worried about inflation, a Europe worried about not being accommodative?
I think that's appropriate right now, given what we see with HICP inflation above 2%, above 2.5%. I think that it is appropriate to be cautious.
I mean, when you look at this, and again, I think it's just critical. We saw the pictures in Athens. I mean, their heated debate in Parliament, can Germany afford restriction, given what we're seeing outside? There are the photos outside of Parliament right now. You can see them down here, Michael. I mean, this is a great moment for the Greek people. I don't mean great by good. It's just a big moment for the Greek people. Can Germany and Trichet ignore that?
I think that Trichet has to focus on his mandate, which is deliver price stability in the medium term. I believe that he's doing everything he can to do that. Now, the other question is whether or not Greece should be in the Eurozone.
Let's make some news.
Topic.
Should you say they should leave, as Martin Feldstein speaks of?
Absolutely. Not a doubt in my mind.
Let's leave it there. Michael Woolfolk, thank you so much for coming in.